Get ready to have a blast on Corey's Cast, where we talk about everything related to rehabilitation and recovery, from injuries and treatments to the unique journeys in the pursuit of an optimal life. I am your host, Corey Rasmussen. Okay. Welcome back to Corey's Cast, where we discuss everything related to wellness and try to give you guys tips that are going to help improve your lives. Today we are very lucky to have a special guest with us. We have Kate Meske. She is a certified personal trainer over at APSI Gym. She's been teaching dynamic group exercise for over 20 years. Some of the classes include strength training, HIIT, boot camp, traditional spin, and her signature hip hop spin, which we'll definitely dive into.
Yes.
So, all right. So, Kate, why don't you tell us a little bit about your journey? How did you get into the fitness industry?
My mom, when I was 12 or 13, had actually quit smoking and wanted to get healthier, and just kind of encouraged me to go to the gym with her. I think she didn't want to go solo. So, at a very young age, I was always athletic, but I had never worked out, and we went to just a little mom and pop gym where a bunch of weightlifting people kind of took me under their wing and got me lifting. So that seed was planted at a very young age. Started working out consistently. In college, I ran our college gym. So just was always, it was something that was a great outlet for me growing up in all the different stages of life. So
for sure. I like that you said that. I think, you can't emphasize enough how exercise is just a great outlet for, all stages of life, but especially at youth. And if you have the right gym, I think people like to help people. So naturally, when someone sees some youth working out, I think they like to share that experience and take them under their wing. And I'm glad you had that experience.
Yeah, it was really great. And just getting to, those guys watching me grow up too, I think it was something cool. They felt proud of themselves for, planting that seed and helping me start that journey. Yeah.
Sure. Awesome. So as I read a little bit about her resume, she has a really lengthy, awesome resume, done a lot of stuff, worn a lot of hats, been in a lot of different positions at different types of gyms, different places in the country. Why don't you share with our audience a little bit about your journey through all of this and what's brought you up to today?
Yeah, so like I said, I started working in gyms, actually even before college, just as a front desk position. So started where a lot of people start and then managed a college gym. I moved from Arizona to Colorado, worked at some, bigger box gyms, 24-hour fitness, just as a personal trainer. I think, when you're younger, it was like, oh, I can also have a free membership to a gym. This is great, you know. And I moved back to Arizona, worked at some just local gyms there, just as personal training position. When I moved out to New Jersey, I worked for a big box gym out there, and that's when I got into managing, personal training department, group fitness departments. It always seemed to be something that just kind of fell into my hands. It wasn't ever positions that I was, gunning for.
Right.
But, and I still continued to train clients, teach classes, and worked at many gyms in New Jersey, boutique gyms, bigger gyms, but really just loved being able to manage trainers, help them grow in their business and teach them, knowledge of the industry and whatnot. And then from New Jersey, I moved out to Idaho.
Yeah.
And I started, I know, that was a big change. People were like, what in the heck is going on? I said, I know, I had family out here. So I moved to outside of the Treasure Valley for a couple years, ran some franchise gyms out there, and then was fortunate enough to start with a gym that was just opening that was an all-women's gym.
Okay.
Where that was really where I got to hone in on a lot of my management experience. It was a smaller gym, not a huge gym, so I really loved to be able to focus more attention on each of those individual trainers. Our group exercise instructors. We just had a really amazing community of ladies there. And it taught me a lot too, how to work with, different personalities
Sure.
and, opinions. And I mean, all of my experience, has provided that. But, that gym really provided a lot of that. So, I was really grateful for all that experience. And now I'm out here in Pocatello.
Yeah, that's right. How long have you been out here?
A little over a year.
Okay.
Yeah, a little over a year, and had kind of put the fitness career on pause to help with some family stuff, and missed it. I really missed training clients and teaching classes and just getting to become part of somebody's journey to living a healthier lifestyle.
Right on. Excellent. Yeah, I think Kate's being modest. I mean, talent recognizes talent. Those positions don't just usually fall in your lap. I mean, sometimes, but I think people recognize the value you have and want you in those roles to help them succeed. So that's been great. I had another comment maybe about, and a lot of it is just your leadership skills, your personality. I know people are instantly gravitated towards you. That's why when I interviewed you, 5 minutes into it, I was ready to hire you kind of thing. And so we're just glad to have you as a part of the APSI gym family over there. So we're glad you decided to get back into the fitness ring. And so you talked a little bit about just what you like about being involved in someone's journey, but you teach a variety of fitness classes and stuff like that. Do you have a favorite? Is there something you like more than others?
I think you had mentioned at the beginning my hip hop spin. That was something that I really personalized and whatnot when I created that class. But as far as more, strength training, resistance training aspect, I really like, a boot camp HIIT style class, setting up different stations, working different parts of the body, different muscle groups. And a lot of that has to do with functional training.
Yeah.
Which is just, it's so important, just the everyday things that we do.
Dive into that a little bit.
Yeah.
What is functional training? Or how would you view that?
I mean, functional training is, think about sitting down on a chair, standing up, sitting down, standing up. That's a squat, essentially,
Yep.
And so you're taking movements that you're doing every day and you're building routines that help strengthen those everyday movements, you see a lot of these fitness influencers posting all these crazy exercises, for likes and for shock value. And although a lot of it looks cool, it's not necessarily realistic.
Right.
And a lot of it isn't attainable for regular, everyday people like us. So functional training is really important for that. So you're teaching strengthening those everyday movements.
I liked everything you said there. A lot of these cool things have a lot of shock value to them. But as a therapist, that's the main goal that we gravitate to, is that end game of functional training. How are you going to be able to better live your life and engage in your hobbies and everything else by developing this strength that's involved in function? So awesome. So we have a video. We're going to show that right here, up in here somewhere, and showing a little bit about your class and some of how the different stations are there and how people are going through these different stations, and you're emphasizing some of these functional movements or breaking down certain functional movements into some strengthening exercises, if you will. So tell me a little bit more about these style of classes. How do you set that up, and what can people expect when they come to a class like that?
Yeah, so I really, depending on how many times a week this class is being taught, if I'm having a class that's 2 or 3 days a week, I like to break it more into, one day is going to be upper body stations. The, 2 days later when we teach a class, it's going to be lower body stations.
Right.
I like to combine core in with that. For a class like we were showing up here, I broke it into a group of stations that was lower body, upper body, and then everything. I usually incorporate core in there as well. So you're getting a really good, well-rounded workout, working all of those muscle groups, but not to the point of, people not being able to walk when they leave.
Right. Yeah. Nobody wants that.
I want to hurt them, but not that bad.
Yeah, right. That's what everybody wants.
Yes, exactly.
So I kind of cut you off. I'm sorry, we got into functional training.
Yeah.
You were about to expand on this hip hop, this customized
Oh,
hip
my
hop
hip-hop spin, yeah. You know, I had been teaching traditional spin for a while, and my classes were fun. I love to have a lot of fun in my classes. And I had a member show me a video of a gentleman out in Atlanta, Georgia, teaching a class. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. I mean, just awesome hip-hop music. Just the energy was through the roof. And I ended up actually going to take his class in Atlanta. Nice. And I thought I was gonna die. You know, his style was a lot different than how I would teach, and I mean, but it was great, and it was probably one of the best classes I've ever taken. And I talked to him afterwards, and he was just doing his thing there. And I said, well, if you don't mind, I'm gonna take this. Yeah. I'm gonna take it to New Jersey. I'm gonna spice it up with more of my style. And make it a class that, you know, included warm-ups and cool-downs and some stretching and whatnot. Okay. And, I mean, it was a couple weeks of just coming up with playlists and practicing a lot by myself to make sure that I wasn't going to, you know, have anybody passing out of my class. And then just went to one of the gyms that I was teaching at, and I said, hey, I'm going to switch up my class a little bit tonight. And it was an instant hit. I mean, This spin studio we had there probably had 50 or 60 bikes in it. Wow. And a couple classes, people trying it. The class was packed every single time. And I ended up, I mean, I was teaching that class at, I think, 3 or 4 different gyms. Yeah. I think at one point teaching like 10 spin classes a week. It was bananas. Yeah. But it was a lot of fun. And, you know, it's the energy that I bring to my classes, and I would do the class with them, so they were seeing my pain faced along with theirs, which pushed them even more. So it was a lot of fun. You know, I still have a lot of my students to this day. They're like, every time Jump from House of Pain comes on, I think of you, and I'm like, good, yes, I love it.
That's funny. Yeah, we were just talking about. So New Jersey, do they have, like, what would be some hip hop bands that originated from New Jersey? Any of them that jump out? Beastie Boys? Where did they come from? I don't remember.
No, Beastie Boys was New York. Oh my gosh, Lords of the Underground was New Jersey. Redman is from New Jersey. Gosh, at the top of me, Queen Latifah is from Newark, New Jersey. Funny, So you got a lot of those East Coast hip hop groups that brought a lot of flavor to my classes.
We might have to get some spinning bikes at APS.
Yes,
for sure. This sounds exciting. I'm all ready to get it signed up. Okay, let's shift gears a little bit now. We've come from spinning. Let's talk a little bit about resistance training, because this is always kind of a hot topic and things that as therapists we're always trying to encourage everybody, really. But talk to our audience a little bit why resistance training is so important, and maybe specifically why it's even not more important, but as equally important for females. Because I know there's some stigmas or some preconceived ideas about resistance training for females. They don't want to get hurt, or they don't want to get too buff, or whatever it might be. Yeah. So break those down for us and talk about the benefits of resistance and why you put such a high value on it.
Yeah, you know, and that's something that over my career I've really wanted to focus with women, and of course men as well. But like you said, women do have this preconceived notion that they're gonna get like fully jacked and just look like some, you know, insane bodybuilder, which was funny because when I was competing and I was jacked and trying to explain to women, they're like, yeah, you know, I want to train with you, but I don't want to look like you. And I was like, no, it's not. You won't. Please, don't worry.
You won't
That's
take
not
my class
happen.
2 days a week and all of a sudden
you're not going to be like super swole, you know.
Yeah.
But something, you know, what's really important is trying to break through that idea. And I think now a lot of women are realizing that it's not that way.
It's much better.
But, you know, probably most importantly, especially for women as we get older, and men, but more for women, our muscle decreases, you know, that muscle decreases. Our bone density decreases significantly. And that resistance training obviously is going to help build lean muscle. But when you're building that muscle, you're helping support your structure better. and increasing bone density. I mean, osteoporosis is huge for older women. So being able to proactively, work on that, that's really, really important. Mental health. I mean, I think for me, a woman in her mid 40s now, I've definitely switched my the way that I train and the way that I'm fueling my body compared to 20 years ago when I was young. And so I mean, mental health is so important. I know for me, if I wasn't in the gym 5 days a week, or doing something active at least 5 or 6 days a week, I would be in a gloomy, like Eeyore. I'd just be doom and gloom all the time. It's like it releases all those happy chemicals. It releases those endorphins. We need that. So that's just, I love being able to teach people that it's not about getting jacked unless you want to. It's not about necessarily even an aesthetic. It's about more of how you're healing yourself from the inside out,
Such a hot topic is longevity, right? The longevity science and stuff like that people really diving into. And since the dawn of time, the one prescription that addresses everything, illnesses, mental health, just like it, is exercise prescription, not a pill. And so we could talk for a weekend of all the benefits of exercise, especially as we age and in different genders. And as far as, like you said, bone density and muscle breakdown as we get older, it's harder to synthesize protein. You also have other chemicals circulating that break muscle tissue down as we age, and exercise blocks that cascade. And so just so many things to get involved in resistance training. A lot, we want to help with our cardiovascular health, but we definitely want to help with the musculoskeletal because it's got such a ripple effect to all the other systems. The mental systems, the cardiovascular symptoms. We haven't even talked about the fat burning mechanisms of having the more lean tissue you have, the more fat burning you can do. So it really behooves you to get started yesterday as far as resistance training goes. So I like what you just said, because you pretty much addressed all my my next question. But so for some of the females out there, how would you adapt or approach differently someone who's, say, in her mid-20s versus someone who's later 40s, early 50s? How would you address the class and things like that?
It's a lot of that starts with just a personal assessment, seeing what the person's goals are, and injuries, lifestyle, stuff like that. Usually a younger person has a lot more capabilities, and they haven't maybe had kids yet, or had any injuries, or just had all the wear and tear on our bodies just from existing as we get older. So usually there's a little more you're able to, and you also have a foundation to work with. A young person, they've just got, they don't have that mature muscle, so you can really start with almost a clean slate a lot of times, and that's a lot of fun because you can teach all the proper form, which is super important, but really getting to challenge those muscles, seeing how you can push a younger person's body and build that endurance, or build that if they're in sports, just build the agility and whatnot for them. Obviously, as we get older, there's, taking into consideration, any kind of injuries or strains and whatnot. You have to really take into consideration a lot of nutrition things, which I'm sure we'll talk about another time. But really focusing on core strength, that's something that's really important for a lot of older women. Women have babies, those abdominal muscles are just wrecked in the process. Absolutely. And so that's one thing that I've noticed for women, even mid 30s, to all the way up until, you know, elderly women, is focusing on that core strength because, you know, a lot of women have that diastasis, that, you know, abdominal separation when they have babies, helping repair that. I mean, having your core strength is so important for all exercises, you know.
Getting back to functional exercise, that's the basis. That's why we call it the core, because it's involved. This is the one thing that is going to have a nice ripple effect to all aspects. If you're a golfer, it's going to help with your golf game and stuff like that. For your cyclist, it's going to help. So it's one of those body parts that definitely, it can be a weak link in the chain.
Definitely.
So you need to be basically the strong link in the chain.
And
you bring up a great point with women who have babies, but I mean, even just naturally aging, we, you know, sometimes our activity levels start to retract, and that core is one of the first things to start atrophying, aesthetically, but also if you were to look under a microscope kind of thing.
Exactly. Yeah, it's wild. And it has a lot to do with our balance too. And as women get, you know, into their senior years, balance is a huge issue. You know?
Glad you brought that up.
And so that's important. You know, I always joke, I'm like, listen, just if you can't see the six-pack on the outside, it doesn't mean we're not strengthening that core on the inside, you know. It doesn't have to be an aesthetic thing. And that's something that will, like I say, from, you know, into your 20s until you are done with your cycle on this earth.
Yeah.
Helping keep that core strong is so important for so many things. I mean, and
I love that you brought the balance, because we see that a lot. We'll challenge people balances in here for a variety of injuries, and they're like, I had no idea that my balance is so bad, or I must have an inner ear. Well, yeah, inner ear is part of it, but you'd be surprised. The biggest bulk of it's probably the lack of strength in your core and your hips, providing that stability. And
exactly.
So, that's something that it's a perishable skill. It's perishable. I don't know what you want to call it, but it does decline over time if you don't address it, for sure. Awesome. So we've talked a little bit about your classes, a little bit about you, things like that. So if someone was looking for a trainer, one, what might they look for to know if a trainer is going to be a good fit for them? And then what would you say would be a good client that would match well with what you provide?
Yeah, so, you know, over the years, just helping, you know, running different departments and whatnot, but working with personal trainers and helping them build their business. I think one thing that I really had to drive home was, you know, if you are just wanting to clock in at a job and clock out for a paycheck, personal training is not for you. And clients will be able to see that, right? So it's having that passion and knowing that as a client, knowing that your trainer has a passion for helping people make changes. So I think that's the biggest thing, knowing that someone is genuinely trying to help you on your fitness journey.
Sure.
And also for a lot of people, you know, going into a new gym it's scary, you know, it's a scary thing.
Yeah.
And so they want somebody who's compassionate, knowing that this is maybe a whole new world for them, or you know, it's a new gym. Maybe they've worked out somewhere, but they're like the new kid in class, right? So, you know, just having somebody that has compassion and has empathy and is personable and seeming to really have a love for what they're doing, and you won't always find that, you know. And so, you know, and everybody's different. Somebody wants, I mean, I know for me, I've always, until a couple years ago, had a personal trainer train me.
Okay.
And this is just me. I always looked for the scariest dude in the gym who was a trainer.
Right.
Like, I wanted the meanest, biggest dude training me in the gym. That is not for everybody. Not everybody wants like a drill sergeant screaming in their face. I wanted that because I just, you know, I'm the worst client. I will complain and whine and all the things. And so I want someone who's going to kick my, like, literally kick my butt. But I think more so, and all those guys were very personable and very funny. So that definitely was, you know, an attribute to that. But, you know, for me, when I'm working with a client or sitting down with somebody for the first time, I joke with them, but I'm kind of serious. That if you hire me as your trainer, I'm your new best friend. I really take a lot of pride in getting to be on that journey with somebody, be on their fitness journey. That's a huge opportunity. It's that person's opening up all of their life information to you. It's a very personal experience. That is a huge blessing for somebody to not know me and to come to me and sit down with me and just open it up. Just give me their all and let me know what's going on in their life, so I can then program, a healthy lifestyle routine for them. Because, it's beyond just coming into the gym for an hour for a session.
Sure.
And that's something that's really important for me with clients. I want them to know that it's not just me here for an hour with them. If they have a question, they have my phone number. They can reach out to me. I've had clients call me in the cookie aisle at the grocery store and be like, girl, I'm looking at the Oreos. I'm like, back away. That's the kind of relationship I like to have with all my clients. So they know, besides programming routines for them to work out, I'm there to help, motivate and push and drive that lifestyle for them. So
awesome. Good. So steering a little bit away from the personal training, let's talk about the gym itself. So since being in Pocatello, you've worked out at several gyms, and you've managed a lot of gyms. What would you say are some of the strengths of the APSI gym, and what kind of client would be a good fit for that gym if they're thinking about, becoming a member somewhere?
Yeah. Like I said, I've worked out at every type of gym, a big box, smaller gyms, boutiques. I think here in town, because a lot of it's big box, the gyms are nice enough, but you're a number because they have a lot of members. And so it's not a very personal feel. So that's what's nice about APSI. You're definitely, I come in usually when I'm here early mornings, and I come in and work out before work, and I see the same people. And I'm like, hey, Pat, how you doing? Hey, how are you doing? And people like that,
Sure.
and just recognizing somebody that they see regularly, but you get just more of that kind of community family feel. You don't have to fight for a machine. You don't have to sit and wait for somebody who's on their phone for 20 minutes, camping out on a machine. So that's really nice. And it's just like, it's a no pressure, I'm not a tripod filming my workout kind of person. If you are, no offense. But even if you're in a gym and you're not that person and you're working around other people doing that, it's a little unsettling. You're like, oh, in the back of this person's video, I don't know what's going on here. So it's nice to have an environment that is not that. It's just very relaxed. You can come in, get your workout, get it in, be done with it, go about your day. But still having, that community feel, seeing, you guys coming in on the physical therapy side, seeing regular faces. It's nice. You see the same people. Hey, how you doing today? And just making that small talk.
Yeah, so we take a lot of our patients over there to show them and transition them so that they know they can maintain their gains independently on their own programs. And we have several gym members that have been patients before, and we run into them and they're like, hey, I do have my shoulder kind of acting up again, and we'll stop and chat real quick and try to help them out. So we do enjoy that family atmosphere. We have structured it such to be like that, a kind of a mom and a pops, and almost kind of not a stuffy country club, but almost like a community that you belong to kind of thing. We recently did raise our prices, and that's again because we need to cover the bills, but we want to keep the volume low relatively. And so for us, that's what we want. People want a place where they can come in, do their thing. They're not waiting for machines. It almost feels like their own private gym. That's kind of the feel we want. We want you to feel like this is your gym, and you're just working out with other family members from time to time. So anyways, that's a little plug for the gym over there. But you can get more information about Kate and the gym if you go to the website. It's www.apsigym.com. and they have our classes listed on there, her bio. They have some gallery shots of the gym itself and membership prices and stuff like that. But we've really enjoyed having you on the show, Kate.
Thank you
We're gonna
so
have
much.
Kate on. She's a great resource. We're gonna have her more. I want to talk more about nutrition. So much to discuss
Yes.
there. We have these this in-body body measurement scan machine that she uses with her clients as well, and we're going to talk a little bit about that and some of the readouts and what do they mean and what we look for into that overall wellness and health, because again, like she said, it's not always aesthetics, and it's not always but the poundage that you lose on the weight scale. A lot of it has to do with your body makeup as far as lean mass versus fat mass and stuff like that. So lots to talk about there, but thank you, Kate, for coming on the show
Thanks
today.
so much, Corey. I appreciate it.
Okay, that's our show. Thanks for tuning in today. Don't forget to subscribe, like, share, and comment, and we'll see you on the next episode.